Welcome to Season 4 of AIHA's podcast series, The Healthier Workplaces Show, where we explore timely and informative topics about occupational and environmental health and safety to help you improve your workplace. I'm your host, Alejandro Castillo. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Julianne Barron. Dr. Barron is an infectious disease microbiologist with specialized expertise in biosafety, biorisk management, public health, emergency preparedness, training development, and scientific communication. Dr. Barron received her Doctor of Philosophy degree from the University of Pittsburgh, Graduate School of Public Health in Infectious Diseases and Microbiology. Dr. Barron then completed the prestigious National Biosafety and Biocontainment Training Program postdoctoral fellowship at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. Dr. Barron has also obtained professional certifications in both biorisk management and cyberbiosecurity through the International Federation of Biosafety Associations. She is certified in public health, a registered biosafety professional, and is certified in cybersecurity. With over 15 years of laboratory research experience, Dr. Barron started Science and Safety Consulting to provide professional information to help support her clients in conducting research safely, making educated decisions, and ensuring plan and program compliance. We're here today to talk about Dr. Barron's career, learn more about cyberbiosecurity, and get a sneak peek of her upcoming pop-up session, Laboratory Biorisk Assessments, Considerations for Incorporating Cyberbiosecurity at AIHA Connect 2025. Julianne, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Alejandro.
Let's start with the basics. What is biorisk management?
So biorisk management is really the combination of two fields, biosafety and biosecurity. Biosafety is a field that aims to prevent the release of and or the exposure to biological materials that can harm individuals. And then biosecurity, which is trying to prevent the theft, loss, or misuse of those same biological materials.
Wow, those subjects are very interesting, and I can see how they can work together. How did you discover biorisk management, and what made you become interested in becoming an expert in this field?
Yeah, so when I was finishing my postdoc, I was trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do next, and I really didn't know at that time. And I saw a booth for the Biosafety and Biocontainment Training Postdoc Fellowship that I ended up going to at a conference that I was attending, and I was really intrigued to kind of check it out. So once I learned more about it, I was like hooked immediately. And for me, I've always been interested in public health, which is sort of my background and what my degree is in. But I also really like the human component of infectious disease. And so now that I know about biosafety and biorisk management, I really like to say that biosafety is the public health of laboratories.
Wow. Is there a moment in your career that particularly shaped your perspective as a biorisk management professional?
Definitely. I'm sure there are many, but I think one of the early ones was during the fellowship that I did. We had sort of at the end of our first year a session where we were supposed to present to our scientific advisory board about what I know now that I didn't know then. So when I was starting, before I really knew about laboratory safety. And I will say that there were definitely a lot of things that I did not know about biosafety and about best practices when I worked in the lab myself, and what should be done as opposed to what I was doing. After giving that talk, I realized that I really didn't want other researchers to also do things in an unsafe way because they just didn't know any better. So I think that really kind of changed my mind about how important the field was.
And of course, the field's always changing and learning. Is there a particular lesson that you learn that you keep with you every single time?
I think for me, it's really more just the personal interaction piece. And so also as part of the fellowship, we had a lot of soft skills training. And so really understanding where people come from and what their perspective is of what is a good way to convince them of how they need to be safe. So some people are concerned about their personal safety. Some people are concerned about their family at home or their friends and bringing something that might infect them home. Some people are concerned about their research quality. And so doing things in a safe and repeatable way also helps improve research. And so I think for me, learning that there are different ways to approach different people based upon their perspective of why they might need to be safe has been a really big part of meeting people where they are, and I think taking that with every interaction that I have with people.
Absolutely. I think clear communication is always important, and sometimes finding the right way of communicating with somebody can save a life.
Absolutely.
We hear in the news a lot about cybersecurity, but not enough about cyber biosecurity. What does that emerging field of study entail, and how do you foresee this field of study growing?
Yeah, so cyber biosecurity is another kind of combination field, and it really is combining biosecurity, which I talked about already, cybersecurity, and then also cyber physical security. And so cyber physical security is basically where there's a physical system that has an IT component. So an electronic door lock or something like that would be part of the cyber physical. And so these fields are joined in biological settings. So biomedical research, biomanufacturing, or agricultural applications can all be impacted by cyber biosecurity. The field's really looking to protect biological materials as well as the data that's related to them from vulnerabilities and potential cyber attacks. And I see the field growing and hopefully gaining more importance as more and more lab equipment, manufacturing equipment, and processing equipment becomes smarter and internet connected. Additionally, as we see this push to incorporate AI into all things, we see that this can lead to obviously a lot of advancements in medicine and in research, but there's definitely risks from a cybersecurity perspective that need to be evaluated proactively while these sensitive data and important health information are incorporated into a more cyber connected world.
And as technology keeps advancing, really day by day, it's just so fast. What current challenges are we facing?
So I think, and you'll hear more in my pop-up about this, but I think some of the challenges that there's a lot of connected devices and equipment that laboratory staff are getting because they're the newest, greatest thing, but their IT professionals or their IT support at their organization maybe doesn't know about it, or they don't know how it is connected to the internet, or if it is cloud connected and sending data back and forth with that device. And so I think that there's really a lack of sort of collaboration sometimes between what is new in lab technology and lab equipment, and how do we protect that equipment from a cyber front based upon what it is and what it does.
You are the first U.S. professional to receive their cyber biosecurity certification. What was the process leading to this certification like?
Yeah, so I have always been very interested in science and technology since I was little. I actually used to build my own computers. And so since I've been involved in biosecurity for about the last 10 years, I've had to do a lot of consideration of some cyber security components for access control, data management, and other information system security, specifically relating to select agent laboratories. Since the presence of cyber attacks in healthcare and labs has become more prevalent, I sort of learned about the field of cyber biosecurity and really what this interdisciplinary field contains. And so from that, I found out about the certification, and I thought that I would be well suited to take it based upon my past experience. So really the process involved a good bit of sort of restudying of networking, IT and operational technology or OT security practices, as well as incident response. And then I signed up for the exam and passed.
What advice would you give to somebody who's interested in becoming certified in this field?
Yeah, so I would definitely say it depends on where they're coming from, whether they have a more biosafety and biosecurity background or a more cyber security and IT background. So obviously the exam covers both of those topics. And so knowing biosecurity it was sort of easier for me to understand those pieces. But there's a lot of overlap that I think we have, and the pop-up will discuss a little about how we deal with risk management and risk assessment and incident response, as well as OEHS professionals and as cybersecurity professionals. But for me, my focus was really relearning and restudying the IT and the cybersecurity components. So I was working on studying for another cybersecurity focused exam at the same time. And so that was really helpful for me in relearning or learning for the first time some of the components of networking, cryptography, incident response, and management of IT systems.
This all sounds very fascinating, and I'm very impressed because I know none of this, and I'm very happy to have a professional like you take care of this. As you know, you are hosting a pop-up session at AIHA Connect 2025 called Laboratory Biorisk Assessments, Considerations for Incorporating Cyberbiosecurity. Can you expand on how an OHS professional may benefit from attending your session?
Absolutely. So in my pop-up session, OHS professionals will learn that they are often not speaking the same language, or they're not speaking the same terms as IT and cybersecurity professionals about risks associated with IT systems, networks, devices, and other types of equipment that can be used in laboratory or agricultural setting. This can often lead to a lack of a shared language between the groups and sort of difficulty in communicating.
Are there any potential dangers from the lack of this shared language?
So definitely there are dangers relating to a lack of understanding or a misunderstanding of what each professional is talking about, especially as it relates to what type of assets there are in the research environment and how they need to be protected, and what they need to be protected from.
And what can an OHS professional do to solve this issue?
Yeah, so I think we are in a good place as OEHS professionals to get an understanding of the types of technology that are being used in biomedical research, biomanufacturing, and agricultural settings, and what types of research data those devices may generate, process, or collect. This can be used then to explain to organizations, IT professionals, to help have conversations about what kind of risk mitigation measures are needed for those specific devices or systems.
Out of curiosity, what is a worst case scenario?
So a worst case scenario, it would depend on the application, but obviously research data could be stolen off a device, or it could be altered in a way that it is not what it should be. If there are devices that are related to, so not in the laboratory setting, but to patient care could be impacted by cyber attacks, as we've seen in the news. And so there's really a potential for harm, both in terms of loss of data, loss of research, and loss of confidence in the research setting and in research endeavors.
Virtual Connect is the most convenient and affordable way to access quality education and insights about the OHS industry. Learn more at aihaconnect.org/virtualconnect. What are the main differences between IT systems and biosafety risk assessment processes? How can we further mitigate this risk?
Yeah, so I think the big thing to understand is the main difference between these two risk assessment processes is the goal or the purpose of the risk assessment. So in the biosafety space and in OEHS, in our risk assessments, we're evaluating our hazards with the purpose of identifying and implementing risk mitigation control measures so we can prevent potential hazardous situations. Strictly by definition, in the IT risk assessment process, the goal is to identify and communicate risk, not to mitigate it. So there's actually an entirely different risk management for IT professionals process. And so I think we need to make sure that we're speaking that same language again about what are we doing as far as a risk assessment when one set of professionals is talking about figuring out risk mitigation measures and controls, and the other is focused on communicating what that is as their risk assessment.
What common biosecurity considerations are there that are familiar to laboratory, and biorisk management professionals?
Yeah, so I'll give you one. So you'll have to come to my session to hear the rest of them. But one of them is physical access control. So I'm sure we're all kind of familiar with door locks and keypads that may be cyber related and cyber attached. So this is processes and devices relating to who is physically able to go into certain spaces. Obviously, this can be in a laboratory environment or any other type of setting as well. And so, as the listeners may be familiar, often we have a badge reader or a type of system that allows us to enter a PIN. And these are obviously cyber related devices, and they're very often cyber physical devices. So that's one thing where when we think about biosecurity, we want to limit access, right? And so this is a physical access system that is by definition cyber related. So after my session, I think that OEHS professionals should be able to better understand how to assess and identify IT systems risk and how that's different than how they typically assess biohazardous material risks. They should be able to communicate better with IT professionals about this, and they should be armed with a few risk mitigation measures that they may already be using as relating to biosecurity that they can begin to use to facilitate conversations, multidisciplinary conversations about cyber biosecurity with other professionals.
Julianne, as we approach the end of this episode, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what we need to think about is that as everything in our lives becomes more technologically advanced, from items in our homes to things in the workplace, we really need to consider cybersecurity and cyber biosecurity risks proactively for everything that we do. It's not a big stretch for OEHS professionals, since I think most of us kind of intrinsically think about risk all the time. But it does help to either have the knowledge or have the assistance of someone with the knowledge about cyber threats in order to design and use safer and more secure systems. So I think if you're interested in hearing more about the topic, I would love for you to come to see my pop-up session at AIHA Connect 2025.
That wraps up today's episode of the AIHA Healthier Workplaces show. Julianne, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your expertise on cyber biosecurity. If you are interested in learning more about AIHA's work to protect the health and safety of all workers, visit our website and follow us on social media. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, remember that healthier workplaces mean a healthier world. Until next time.